Hello, everybody. You're listening to episode 14 of 8-Minute Movies Alienated, a podcast talking about the 1979 movie Alien in 8-minute chunks, presented by me, Kieran, and him, Peter. It is the penultimate episode.
Ooh, hello.
And with a certain finality to it, how are you doing, Peter?
Well, I'm doing all right. I've been having a little bit of a relaxing week, to be honest. I'm very chilled out, and my sleeping schedule is just all over the map.
That's the best kind of week, I find.
Yeah, I don't know which way is up or down or day or night. Time has become meaningless, and I am just a puddle of relaxation.
Good. Well, I look forward to that stopping and you being stressed again.
Very soon now. How are you?
Oh, that's fine. I was just going to let the pause go on until it was fairly obvious it was your turn to speak. I'm good. I've heard a lot about this exciting new sci-fi thriller, the Omicron variant. I don't know who's starring in it, but I'm looking forward to seeing it.
That joke's probably fine by the time this comes out now.
Yeah.
See, before we were recording them quite a long time in advance, and
we ran out the buffer, listeners.
Yeah. So we don't know whether that ages. We don't know whether any joke ages very poorly, but this one, this is just a couple of weeks ago, probably. So we're probably fine there.
Oh God, I hope we're all still alive by this.
As I was saying to you I think we're calling it the Green Room now.
Yeah, that name seems to have stuck.
It's nice that they named it like the one that's all going to kill us.
It really sounds like a 70s spy thriller to me. Like if the Omicron variant starred Robert Vaughn, I'd be all over that. I would definitely be watching it.
Yep.
The latest for the Andromeda Strain remake.
So what have you been up to? Do you want to mix it up and go first in a completely different trend from every episode we've ever done?
Yeah, sure. We're not afraid to do terrible, stupid things with the format here.
Yeah, the penultimate episode.
I have been playing a videoed game.
Ooh, which one?
Halo Infinite.
Ah, yes. I wasn't going to install it yet, but I have done. But go on, how are you finding it?
It is quite good. I quite like it. I think I may be too old to be playing Twitch shooter video games against online, but then I'm like, Jesus Christ, I used to be good at this shit. Then I stopped doing it for a decade, and now I'm not good at it anymore.
Yeah, I have come to realize I'm not very good at shooters anymore. There was a time when I was all right at them, but that time was Quake. that time was when in order to get mouse look working, you actually had to open up the console and type +M look in order to look around with the mouse, because that wasn't just a built-in feature of the options menu in that game.
Oh God, it feels bad to be admitting this, but probably the shooter I was best at was Duke Nukem 3D. Shake it, baby. Oh dear. God. Well, no, actually, I tell a lie. It was probably one of the Halos. I used to play them obsessively a lot. My favorite thing to do for a long time was come up with increasingly baroque multiplayer game modes for Halo. Like, everyone has a sniper rifle, but everyone's invisible all the time as well.
I remember playing a few rounds with you where we just had the sword.
Oh yes, only swords. I think Halo 3 had the best customization options, where you could do stuff like turn the gravity way down and the speed the player moved way up, and then give everyone pinpoint precision weapons. And it was absolutely impossible to score a hit on everyone, because it's like you're stuck on a fucking ice rink.
Yeah, so I also played a very little bit of this, and after a bit, I realized, I'm just going to make myself a bit sad if I play this more. Maybe I'll just wait until the campaign comes out and play against computers who
No,
can't.
no. The ticket is the bots. You can choose to play against bots, and oh my god, it's great. It's the bots are like dumb humans.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, that's what I did in Quake a lot of the time as well. But I was also okay against people sometimes. I did all right.
Mm.
Uh,
There's some kerfuffle at the moment about the level scaling as well, because when you complete a round in Halo Infinite, you get a pittance of
Oh,
experience.
yeah, no,
Like the tiniest nugget of experience. I've played it quite a lot, and I'm level 3.
Well, I played it for a couple of hours and just didn't even get a level, which is very. It, it felt like a very miserly sort of reward structure for that.
Yeah.
You have to wait a day for your dopamine hit on getting the number to go up.
Interestingly, in more than one case, I've found people in matchmaking who are clearly not playing the game. They've just left the game logged in matchmaking so that it can, like, because you get experience for participating in matches regardless of whether you do anything in them. So you
Yeah,
just get lumbered with a useless person who's not doing anything, who isn't even physically there.
that's probably a clue that something needs tweaking there.
Yeah, I think they've said that they're going to rebalance that.
Yeah, I would recommend buy a lot if anyone's listening.
I'm really looking forward to the single player campaign, because that's always been the Halo thing for me. Although
Yeah.
I love Halo quite a lot. It's one of my formative games. I loved it bits. Played it a million times. Played any game which came out which also had Halo in the title. And much as I like Bungie and 343 who've replaced them, like, the story is fucking bananas. Like it continuously goes places, right? And you're just like, the plot of Halo, right, is like there is a war between humans and aliens, and they find this ancient artifact, this ring built by the Forerunner, and if you turn it on, it kills all life in the galaxy, right?
Yes.
Because they built it to defeat another alien force who were taking them over, called the Flood.
Yes.
So I can explain the plot of Halo to you in like 2 or 3 sentences. By the time it reaches Halo 5, you need like a fucking novel. I mean,
Yeah, I never got past 3. So I don't know exactly where that goes, but I've also realized I don't want to know. I don't particularly want to go through all 4 and 5, especially because I've heard that they're not even as good as the
no,
1 to 3.
I enjoy the lore. I love everything about them. It's just the, like, there's so much, and the story is just nonsense. And there's so much of it. Like I don't want to have to know who Born Stellar Makes Eternal Lasting is. But I do.
It was you who actually introduced me to the concept of Halo being a good game.
Oh, good.
Because because I always kind of thought of it as this just weird little game that Microsoft made that didn't really take off. Because I didn't
It
have
was
an Xbox.
it was huge at the time,
Well,
Peter.
I didn't have an Xbox, I d- it kind of got. I felt like it had a fairly lukewarm reception. Yeah, it's a shooter; it's fine, and it was only after looking into it and playing it, and you got me to play it years and years ago, that I realized, oh, loads of people are really into this, and it just kind
Yes,
of passed me by.
yes, millions of people are into.
Yeah, I don't know why that was, because it was a complete blind spot for me. I remember hearing of it as just, oh, it's that Microsoft shooter, but I never realized that it actually got a following until you introduced it to me.
Oh, I'm glad to have gotten the hooks in you.
Hmm.
So yeah, like I really enjoyed the plot of the first one and the campaign. It's great fun, and same with the second one. And the third one, it's not that much fun. Like I've recently replayed all of them. I've just started Halo 4 because they're all available as part of the Master Chief Collection on Steam and other game platforms. I don't know why I'm explaining where to find it. You know where to find games. But yeah, I remember thinking this at the time. The first one is great. The second one is also great. The third one, the story and the campaign just kind of drags. It's just not that much fun, and there's lots of like annoying bits in it. I'm like, well, that's a shame, isn't it? And four and five are so forgettable. I played them both, and I genuinely can't remember anything that happens in them,
Right.
except that somebody uses the phrase didact.
I mean, I'm already whatever. What makes me realize that I'm probably not going to play these games is that I'm not even curious about what that is. I don't want to know. I don't care.
Listeners, if you can sum up the plot of Halo in 50 words or less.
I like Halo just fine, but I don't think I care about it enough to go back to those games. But this new one is a bit different in the way it's structured. It's more kind of open worldy.
Yeah.
And I find that interesting on a world that's a ring. I think that's a really interesting setting for that kind of game, and I'm curious to get stuck into that style of things. See how they do that.
I look forward to driving all the way around the inside of the Halo.
Yeah.
One of my favorite bugs in the original Halo was right at the start of the game, you can see Halo through the bridge of the Pillar of Autumn, and there's a glitch you can exploit which pushes you out through the wall. And you can walk all the way right up to Halo, but obviously it's just a tiny model, so you can walk right up to it, and it's just this tiny little ring rotating in front of you. Oh dear. Yeah, I was going to move on, but then I remembered that we switched it around. What have you been up to?
What have I been up to? Oh, a couple of things. I'll briefly mention a game I've been playing called XO1. Have you heard of XO1?
Nope.
No, it's on Game Pass and presumably other things as well.
People know where to find games. We don't have to do that.
And it's a fairly short game, probably a couple of hours long. It's got a story, although it's delivered in a weird, disjointed sort of way. So it's, but I think basically what's going on during it is that you have found like plans for an alien probe that gets built. In a kind of Contact style. And
don't make me think about Contact.
And in this game, you are piloting this probe, and the way that it controls, you're piloting it through these different environments, and one of your trigger buttons makes its gravity just go very high, so it drops down really fast, and the other button kind of flattens it out, this orb, and turns it into more of a kind of glider configuration. And it's about kind of managing that in order to kind of fly this thing around. It's a weird but interesting kind of control scheme. Very satisfying when you manage to do kind of huge leaps with it and things. And it's just kind of pretty, and not very much happens in it. There's no action or anything like that. You're just exploring these different environments and working out how to navigate through them.
Right.
And it doesn't outstay its welcome. It's just kind of a pleasant thing if you just want a game that's kind of atmospheric, a little bit, but not too creepy in some ways, and just mostly just chilled out. I can recommend XO1.
Lo-fi beats to chill to.
Yeah, it is a bit.
It sounds quite good actually. I like the sounds of it. I like sort of creepy games where you don't 100% know what's going on. I'm thinking specifically of Duskers here. I do enjoy a game of Duskers.
I have not played Duskers.
I'm fairly certain you have.
Have I?
Yes.
Let me look it up.
Okay. I'll wait while you go and refresh your memory. We're leaving this in.
Duskers. No, I have not.
Really?
Oh, actually,
This is great listening audio.
Oh, I think I literally have played it once.
Yeah, there we go. Okay.
Yeah, but
It's like a roguelike where you explore abandoned spaceships.
yeah, no, I've played it once. It's pretty cool.
I haven't played it as much as I'd like to because I'm just fucking atrocious at roguelikes. But it's it is good fun. Do you remember we accidentally almost made it?
Oh yeah, no, we do that a lot because we've got now a backlog of 10 years or so worth of ideas that we're going to make. Inevitably, what happens is just someone else makes it.
Yeah, someone makes it, and then we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, it's very convenient. Actually,
we should send them like a fruit basket or something. Thank you for making the game we were going to get around to, but never quite found the time.
It really just goes to show that ideas aren't the thing.
No, right? Yeah. Ideas are 10 a penny. It's actually doing the thing that's hard.
Yeah. And so the other thing I've been catching up on is the new the new Peter Jackson Beatles documentary thing that's been coming out on Disney Plus.
Oh, I know nothing of this.
Well, back in the day, when it was close to the end times for the Beatles, things were fraying and kind of falling apart a little. They decided that they would film them making and then performing an album live.
Right.
And they did that, sort of. It went a bit wrong, and they never quite got all of the songs down. But in the process, and they did release a film of it eventually. But in the process, they filmed like 60 hours of them in the studio and stuff. And so after all this time, Peter Jackson has just decided to go through all of this footage, a lot of which has never been seen before, just hasn't been public before, and edit together a 3-part. And when I say 3-part, I mean 3 parts, each of which are like 2 to 3 hours long. Documentary has been getting released each day. This is the final day today, so at time of recording, the third and final episode is getting released. You might have heard about that one time that the Beatles did a big concert up on a roof in London.
Oh, I had heard of that.
Yes. Well, these were the sessions leading up to that rooftop performance, which I by the way, yesterday I found out that I walked past that rooftop basically every day for about 2 years without even knowing it on my way home from work.
It's weird when you find yourself in the vicinity of somewhere that you knew was famous or something occurred there and you're just completely oblivious to it. Yeah. One time when I was in LA, I walked past the alleyway where they filmed the infamous alleyway fight from They Live. And oh boy, if I'd have known, I would have taken 10,000 fucking selfies down there.
Yeah, like if I'd known I'd been walking past this place, I would have had like maybe a bit of a proper look.
Yeah. So just goes
uh,
to show that there's stuff all around us, and ultimately none of your dreams will be fulfilled. Good
does
night,
it?
listeners.
Is that what it says?
Oh yeah, that one a bit dark. Keep it light.
Anyway, the way that this documentary has been done, it's really. I don't know whether people who aren't into the Beatles would get a whole lot out of it because it's really kind of slow paced. The way that he's done it is just let all of the conversations happen in it, and there's not. It obviously is edited, very much so, because there's like 60 hours of stuff that's been condensed into 6 or 7 hours or something like that. But it feels like it's not edited in a way because there's just a lot of really long takes of conversations that are just kind of allowed to happen. It's really feels really kind of interesting and intimate, and the big thing about it is that it's always had this reputation of this time where everything was kind of going wrong with the band and there were a lot of arguments happening and it wasn't very fun environment to be recording songs. And there's a bit of that in the documentary, but what you realize is that actually a lot of it was fine as well. A lot of it, everything was working and they were having a good time and laughing and having fun, and that's kind of nice for people who have been fans of the Beatles, because it kind of recontextualized this kind of quite famous moment in their history as this thing that actually it wasn't all bad. They had quite a lot of fun during this time.
Yeah, it's difficult to understand anything when you're viewing it from the outside, especially if it happened a long time ago. So I can see how this is quite a useful tool.
Yeah, it's really. I've really quite enjoyed it, but yeah, as I say, I don't know it's going to do it for anyone who isn't interested in this from the outset. It's not your entry point into the Beatles or whatever.
Yeah, so lengthy 3-part Peter Jackson movie series. Are you going to go with the Beatles or Lord of the Rings?
It's very long. Yeah, no, this is his Lord of the Rings. I was going to say, and you've ruined my joke.
Do you want to just say it anyway, and maybe I'll cut my thing out?
Yeah, I really think that this is they're long episodes. Yeah, a couple of hours each. I really think this is his. This is Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings. I think. Yeah, that's how I was going to do it. It's going to be very funny.
Sorry, I left a pause in there for the listeners to laugh.
Yeah.
Now. Yeah. Oh, I'd feel bad, but I'm not convinced you have real emotions.
Yeah, he doesn't know how to make a short thing, I suppose.
That's true. That is quite true.
Like, also, as I say, though, it is kind of nice that he gives these. He doesn't edit them. You kind of get a bit lost in it. It's a bit cliche, but it is a bit like you're in the room with them, but just sort of hanging out. It's kind of it's. I've never quite seen something like that with a band.
It certainly sounds like an interesting take on a documentary. Either way,
yeah, you can almost just have it on in the background. You just kind of
hanging out with my friends, the Beatles.
The Beatles are just hanging out over there on my laptop while I'm doing stuff.
Yeah, give it to me and I'll dress it up to look like a Zoom call. Has anything else impinged upon your consciousness since we last spoke?
Do I want to bring up anything else? Nah, nothing else. That's about it, really.
Yeah. Oh, about the same. I hurt my lip yesterday. That's something
How'd you hurt your lip?
I can't tell you because it's embarrassing, but I accidentally pulled all the skin off it.
Well, this is great. So we just got a kind of gross, painful image and no context. Thanks for that. Thanks for that contribution to the podcast, Kieran.
Oh, look, it's my podcast. I can talk about my own stupidity as much or as little as I choose. Oh boy. Well, okay, that brings that section swiftly to a close. Now we're going to introduce the concept, but fast. I shouldn't just read my notes aloud, really. I should, just use them as notes, which is what they're supposed to be.
You can just do it.
So this is a podcast about watching the movie Alien in little tiny chunks and talking about it. If this is the first episode you're listening to, go back to episode 1 and start there because it is a sequential podcast. Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
We also have these bells. Ding, 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 ding. And we ring the bells at seemingly random times, but almost never. If you'd like to know the full rules, so would we. Here,
we're explaining it that loosely now, are we? Okay.
Well,
I'm into it.
Well, I mean, like I say, well, it's we're almost at the point in the podcast where you're allowed to bring in your own toys. You know what I mean?
This is how cults get started.
I've always wanted a cult that worships me as a living god. Listeners, if you'd like to, no. Maybe in the final episode. Oh boy. Okay, so we move swiftly-esque into a section of the podcast called "Let's Not Talk About the Thing" for historic reasons.
Yes. All right. So during this section, you are going to talk about a topic that is tangentially related to the film that we're looking at, Alien, but not about the 8 minutes we're about to discuss. So what do you have for us this week?
I'm going to talk to you about director of photography Derek Van Lindt.
Tell me, who is he and how do you spell him?
I'm not spelling it for you.
Oh.
Derek Van Lindt was a British-Canadian cinematographer and director of television commercials and films. He's best known as the cinematographer for the 1979 film Alien, which earned him a Best Cinematography Award nomination from the British Society of Cinematographers. He mostly worked on television commercials throughout his career, only serving as director of photography on 4 films: Alien, Dragon Slayer, X-Men, and The Spreading Ground.
I know 2 of those.
Is it Alien and X-Men?
Yes.
Okay. On Alien, Derek Van Lindt worked closely with Scott to help construct the look and style of the film, using in-camera lighting and working in conjunction with the art department to construct sets and lighting specifically to achieve Scott's intended imagery, especially in visual effects shots utilizing scale models composited into rendered backgrounds. I think we spoke about that a bit before with some of the insert shots. Scott asked him to be the director of photography for Blade Runner, but he declined. Throughout his career, he worked on advertisements for companies such as Guinness, British Airways, Chevrolet, Coca-Cola, General Motors, Kellogg's, Levi's, Maxwell House, Pepsi, and Visa. It's a comprehensive list.
Yeah.
It's interesting to think about director of photography for commercials because, you don't really think they need it, do you? It's just like, it's just like a little 30-second thing, but it's like a film. You've got to get all the shots right. You've got to do everything correctly. You've got to have everyone in the right places, all that kind of stuff. You need a director, you need a director of photography.
I mean, they've become increasingly elaborate, I suppose.
Yeah. And I guess that's all I have to say about Derek Van Lindt. That's Van Lindt, Vanlint.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. You can spell your own Derek.
I already did, actually. In my head.
Oh boy, it's time for the aliens. But first of all, let's go through your question and answers from last time.
Proceed.
Yeah. Who's infected? You said, the little shuttle is infected with an alien.
I think that's true.
I agree. You may have 1 point. What happens next? We'll think all is okay, but then the alien is on the ship, and she will confront it. Confront it makes it sound a little bit more like it's an intervention than
Yeah.
like we've got you here to talk about all these humans you're killing.
Yeah, your behavior has become a problem.
It's unacceptable to us. You may only talk if you have the talking pillow. And who dies next? The alien.
I think all that is true.
You sticking by that? Yeah, I would say you receive 3 whole points for those answers.
Oh,
Yeah.
delightful.
Yeah. And with that, it's time for us to start observing the show. So now we'll be covering 1 hour and 44 minutes to 1 hour and 52 minutes of Alien. As always, not a watch-along podcast, so, stop it. Please don't do it.
Yeah.
You're only hurting yourself. It's your own time now, etc., etc. I'm going to read these things off my list, and if we want to talk about them, we will, and if we don't want to talk about them, we won't. And if we don't want to talk about them, that will make the podcast unusually short.
Yes.
We usually have something to say.
There are a few things to talk about, but also a lot of slow shots of people looking scared, so we'll see.
Yeah, a lot of this sequence is Ripley. It's just shots of Ripley doing stuff.
Yeah.
Ripley, laying back in her chair, whispers, "I got you, you son of a bitch."
Prematurely.
Spoilers. She sits quietly for a few moments before lifting Jonesy from his box. So soft lilting music starts here, which is sort of bringing a sense of relief. It's like, oh, movie's over. Like, we're going to play you the relaxing theme and then you're okay to leave the cinema.
It's certainly less tense than the music that we've had up until this point, I would say.
She cuddles him and whispers, "It's all right," and starts flipping switches.
It isn't all right.
Stop it. It's all right. The happy music is playing. Everyone can relax now. The cryopod opens, and after a few more cuddles, she places him inside and closes the lid. She opens a locker and finds a sealed set of clothes. She starts to change into them, stripping to her underwear.
Which makes sense in context of the plot, I suppose, and yet you sort of feel like it's just so that we can do the next bit.
Yeah. My note here says, I think we need to talk about Ripley's pants.
Yeah.
It's another aspect of the sexuality in the movie. Ridley wanted her to be more exposed here, to place her in seemingly even more peril.
Yeah.
Sigourney Weaver said she found the stripping provocative, but not exploitative. When asked about it, she said, "After 5 days of blood and guts and fear and sweat and urine, do you think that Ripley wouldn't take off her clothes?" And I'm like, yeah, fair enough. She literally thinks she's killed the alien. And at the start of the movie, you see them in the cryopod and they're wearing their little pants. So, yeah, why not?
Yeah, it makes sense, and I get the imagery and everything. I just don't know that I need the alien to be sexy. It's just me.
Yeah, I can sort of see what Ridley Scott wants as well, because the aspect of, being more nude makes you be more in peril. And I can take you through a personal experience of mine where I had to kill a wasp completely in the nude.
Yeah, no.
And it certainly felt a lot more perilous.
Can I digress?
And also pendulous, if you know what I mean.
Can I digress?
You want to digress about naked wasp fights? Sure, go ahead.
About wasp fights, anyway. I was at my parents' the other week, and when there's a noise in the world and you're asleep and you're just waking up and you can't figure out what the noise is, and it's kind of entering your dream a little bit. And
yeah,
well, I woke up to what in my head was like the sound of like a buzzsaw, just going over again. What it actually was a wasp trapped against between the window blind and the window, and I just slowly became aware of this, and I do not like wasps at all. I'm very antsy around them, and as soon as I realized what it was I was actually hearing, and this was about 7 a.m. I kind of left the room. I fled the room, and I was like, okay, I can deal with this. We'll close the door. And once everyone's awake, I'll get someone to look at the wasp situation, because it was a big one as well. I got a look at it, and it was large. I almost thought it was a hornet, but it wasn't. And then about 20 minutes into me trying to fall asleep on the sofa, I started hearing this weird kind of rustling sort of sound coming from the other side of the room. I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, what's going on now? And then I started looking over to the shelf, and there was this kind of just weird crackling sound, and then lights flashing on the shelf.
Right.
I was like, okay, what's going on? Is like the electricity in the house going wrong now? What the fuck is happening? So I was like, okay, well, I can't sleep with all of this going on. And I can't go back to my room because of the fucking wasp. And
does this story end with you falling asleep in a bathtub?
No, I went and woke up my mum, and say, look, I'm really sorry to wake you up, but A, there's a wasp in my room, and B, downstairs there's something paranormal going on, I guess. And could you maybe just have a look, so I can have somewhere to sleep? Well, she came downstairs, and we realized what was happening is that the radiators all throughout the house were coming online and making a really weird noise that I can't even describe while doing it. So that was the noise. And the flashing lights were behind one of the shiny flower pots that was on the shelf. Was this just like, I think it was like a carbon monoxide alarm or something that occasionally flashes. And so combined, they were making the effect of like a haunted shelf.
Oh boy. Oh god, I hate that when you're sleepy and like something weird is happening, and you're like, you knew if your rational brain was 100% online, it would be like, this, it's fine, but you're tired and you're like, I'm being haunted.
That was it. It was so weird. Anyway, sorry, I was just reminded of that when you mentioned your naked wasp fight. I had to bring it up.
Oh god. Oh boy. Well, like, getting back to the podcast, Ridley Scott says he did it for, to heighten the peril in the sequence. Sigourney Weaver said she found it provocative but not exploitative. However, the shoot was actually held up for several hours because Ridley Scott didn't like the first pair of knickers that the costume department came back with, saying that they looked like diapers. And he went to costume himself and returned with the smallest pair he could find.
They are quite small.
They are the tiniest panties.
Yes.
Maybe there's an in-universe explanation for it. Maybe you need the tiniest pants on when you get in the cryo sleep chamber.
Yeah.
Oh, they parody this sequence in an American Dad episode where they're in space, and everyone, even the male characters, are wearing these tiny panties to go into the cryo sleep.
I mean, they don't look uncomfortable. They just look small.
Why would you wear that? She's got like a busy day, of warrant officering.
Yeah,
Did we ever get to the bottom of what that was? I think we did.
I think so. Yeah,
Bossing everyone around, I guess.
yeah.
Oh, Christ alive. She moves around the cabin, flipping switches. She leans in close to some pipework to flip more switches. And the alien's hand snaps out towards her.
Surprise!
Oh shit, Peter, the alien is still alive.
And now in a much smaller space.
Yeah. This is somewhat foreshadowed, actually, by the fact that the door to the shuttle is open when she returns. Yeah, well, you don't really notice that because it's all screaming and clattering. I meant to mention it last time in the podcast, and I forgot. So fuck you, I guess. I'm only one man. I can remember so many things.
Got one job. That's all I'm saying.
This whole final scene was described by Ridley Scott as the fourth act of the movie, which he said would change the way films are made. And he was right, really, wasn't he? Films prior to this didn't have a big last act scare, but it's very common now. Lots of horror films do this. In fact, to the point where if they don't, it's kind of more surprising.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I hadn't thought of it in that way.
The killer is always coming back. Ripley runs with a scream across the room to hide in the clothes locker.
Fair enough.
Yeah, very, very sensible reaction. She peers out of the window to see the alien squirming gently in the wall amongst the pipes. Originally, the alien was supposed to have just been hiding in the locker here, but on developing the idea further, they thought the alien would camouflage itself by hiding amongst the pipes. So they changed a wall of the shuttle set to accommodate it.
Yeah, it's never quite been clear to me what the alien is doing in this scene because it's so dark and weirdly lit that it wasn't. It was never quite clear to me that it had kind of hidden itself amid the pipes and is very slowly working its way free. So I was never quite sure why it didn't just rush her.
And we'll talk about that shortly.
Yeah.
Weight bait.
That's something else.
Changing the shuttle set to accommodate this took longer than they thought because at first they wanted the alien kind of curled up, like head to tail, like in the original Giga painting, Necronom 4, which inspired it. But they thought it would probably hurt the suit performers if they had to be curled up for so long while they were filming.
Fair enough. I mean, my knees get bad if I need to lean down for any length of time nowadays.
Eventually, they just laid the alien down sideways and built up pipes around him. It took about a week to get it right because they kept doing practice shots where the alien was clearly visible. And in the last one, they were inspecting it and they were thinking, yeah, I think we finally got this right. Let's go get Balahi in here and see how he looks. And it turned out that he was already in the wall right next to them and they both jumped a mile. So they were like, oh, yes, this is the one. Let's go with this one.
Good.
The alien drags its slimy hands back up against it as Ripley watches and starts to pull itself free. It took about 15 takes to film him emerging from the wall where he didn't rip the tail or the backpiping off the suit.
I mean, I don't even know whether that would have mattered because I can't see a thing in this suit.
Oh, you got to think about somebody upscaling it into 4K in the future, though.
Yeah. I always thought that maybe this is still a point for later, but I always thought it was moving really slow because maybe it had been hurt in the explosion and blasted towards the shuttle or something like that, and it was in some kind of self-preservation mode or something, and that's why it was taking so long to get its act together. But I don't know.
Well, you see, the alien is supposed to be dying here,
Oh.
It's completed its life cycle because it's, emerged, it's cocooned a bunch of people to spread to create new eggs, and now it's dying, which is why it's so sedentary during this whole end sequence.
Right.
That's the original intent. I mean, I don't know if it's clear. It just seems like it just seems a bit sleepy at this point, maybe.
It does seem that it's got no hustle at this point.
Yeah, it's like, given all the shit it's been doing so far, it's kind of a bit like, oh, whatevs.
Yeah.
Ripley starts slowly and carefully climbing into her spacesuit. And honestly, the crotch-high angled upwards camera here seems fairly exploitative. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, people's mileage will vary. I don't need all this.
As she dresses, we see the alien slowly extend and retract its inner jaw. Feels like another of those sexual allegory things, but I don't want to talk about it.
And actually, effects-wise, I didn't find this so convincing, personally. That, like, up close, that inner jaw, like, moving slowly, looks very boxy and proppy to me. It looks a bit like it's a stapler that's just been covered in slime. The teeth look like they're just a mechanism.
If only they'd thought to use a stapler and cover it in slime, they could probably have made the film a lot cheaper.
Could have saved a lot. Obviously, you've seen people have made aliens with staplers, haven't they? Yeah. It's quite good.
It's quite a famous GIF with the of the Alien 3 with the stapler. Listeners, Google Alien 3 stapler GIF because I can't embed a GIF into an audio stream.
But this actually does look a bit like a stapler when you look at it.
Ripley clicks the spacesuit helmet into place. I quite like the nice sort of fresco-like designs on the helmets. They've got this sort of intricate carving all around them, which must purely be decorative, but it's nice that it's there.
In hindsight, Ripley picked the right hiding place.
You want the spacesuit locker?
Yeah.
What would it have been if the alien was in here? If they couldn't have got the alien in the pipe shot working, the two places they were planning to have it was like be lurking in the closet or dangling from the ceiling. But they really didn't want to do dangling from the ceiling because they'd already done that one.
Well, they've kind of done it twice because there's the face hugger as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah, by the end of the movie, everyone would definitely have learned to look upwards.
Yeah.
She takes a small grappling gun off the wall and loads it. Why is this here? Presumably, if you're drifting away in space, you might need to grapple your way back onto the ship.
Well, why is this here might be a little bit of a theme in this episode coming up.
There's another emergency helmet in here as well.
Oh yeah,
like we discussed earlier, the that flying helmet with the mouth hatch. She watches the alien, still sedentary, and steps out of the locker. In the spacesuit, she sits at the control panel and starts gently singing, "You Are My Lucky Star."
Tell me a little bit about this song, "You Are My Lucky Star." I was not really familiar with it.
Yeah, she's singing "You Are My Lucky Star" from the musical Singing in the Rain. The song was Sigourney Weaver's idea, and Ridley Scott mentions that they kind of got in hot water with the studio because it was quite expensive to license the song. Even though she just sings one or two lines from it over and over.
Yeah, I mean, I guess film music, they tend to be tough on licensing.
Ripley is... Sigourney Weaver said Ripley's using the song just as something to focus on, to take her mind off the impending terror.
Yeah.
She's concentrating on it so she doesn't think about what a terrible situation she's in.
Makes sense to me.
She straps herself in, never taking her eyes off the alien. She opens a control panel labeled "Special Gases."
So, what is this thing here?
I got to give another shout out to Typeset in the Future here, because they got a good screen grab of these special gases, and they include iodine pentafluoride, isobutane, methyl chloride, nitrosyl chloride, methyl bromide, isobutylene, and phosphine.
And you got to wonder why this is a feature of the shuttle.
Yeah, what possible situation would you want to fill the room you're breathing with any of these gases?
Because it's not like she's like hacking it or like slashing some pipes or something before this happens.
It's just buttons. It's just
buttons. Just the poison gas button, please.
Imagine if there was a button on your car's like AC control panel that filled it with nitrosyl chloride.
Yeah. It's one of those things where you just have to accept it. Yeah, there's a perfectly valid use for these buttons that we're just not aware of. It's for when...
Well, Peter, it's because space weevils are very common in the future. And the only thing... Weevils are all different, as we all know, and the only thing that can kill some of them is iodine pentafluoride, isobutane for the others.
Yeah, it's a complex decontamination routine that you have to do on the ship. Yeah, that's good enough. See, it's like I've said before. All plot holes can be resolved if you just if you just explain them away with any old bullshit. It's fine.
Wait a minute. Did you just say all plot holes can be explained if you explain them?
No, they can be explained if you just think for a minute and make something up. Like, there are very few plot holes that genuinely wreck a plot.
Yes. I'm inclined to agree with you there. My favorite of the special gases is phosphine, which is a respiratory poison which causes nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, diarrhea, thirst, chest tightness, difficulty breathing, muscle pain, chills, stupor, and fluid in the lungs. On a button you might accidentally lean on the shuttle's control panel.
Yeah, you really want to have... I feel like that box wants a key.
We're giving her a lot of stick here, but like the special gases panel only appears after you press another button, which gets out of the they're hidden until you press another button, and then they like sort of slide into view. So yeah. You could explain the plot hole. I just love the fact that you can just fill the shuttle with terrible gases at a moment's notice.
For no readily apparent reason, yeah.
There isn't even like an oxygen button, or... She starts pressing buttons which spray the gases into the cabin. One hits the alien, which starts screeching and writhing. For the record, that's nitrosyl chloride that it doesn't like. Still singing, "You Are My Lucky Star," Ripley watches the alien writhe free of the wall. She looks away from it to the control panel, terrified. She's waiting for a countdown to complete. As she looks back, it's inches from her, reaching for her and extending its inner jaw slowly. She screams and hits the button to open the airlock. All the air in the shuttle flies out through the open door, bringing papers and cargo crates along with it. The alien is dragged out into the airlock door, but manages to grab hold on either side. Gasp! It's still there. It's really fucking tenacious, this thing.
Yeah. Well, at least it's trying now.
It's like when when you've reluctantly gotten out of bed, you're like, "Oh, all right, fine, I'll kill you."
Yeah. I mean, it's at the end of its life cycle, as you were saying, so it could just go, yeah, fair enough. Let's get this over with out the airlock.
I was happy to die, but you sprayed me with nitrosyl chloride.
Now I'm angry. That was just rude.
That was rude.
And by the way, why does your ship even have
that? Ripley shoots it in the chest with a grappling gun, and it flies out of the airlock backwards. Ridley Scott describes how he wanted to make this whole final scene look like Ripley in her white spacesuit is taking the role of a knight versus a futuristic dragon.
Don't know whether that's achieved, but sure.
How do you think they did this shot?
Which shot in particular?
The alien flying backwards out of the airlock.
There's something that looked a bit weird about it to me, but I don't know how they would have done that.
They rotated the camera 90 degrees. The rear of the shuttle is actually suspended 20 feet above the ground, and they just drop the alien stunt performer out on a cord.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that tracks.
Yeah, he hit Ridley Scott and hurt him quite badly.
Ooh.
Oh dear. The gun jerks from her hands and is caught at the bottom of the airlock door as it closes. Now, there's a really interesting thing. Well, I say really interesting. There's the thing from Aliens where, to show you the attention to detail they did, in the first scene in Aliens, a machine cuts open the airlock door of the shuttle that Ripley's in.
Mm-hmm.
And the little gun is still at the bottom. They made a specific point to make sure it was included.
Nice.
Yeah, that's good. I like that stuff. The alien drifts around on the grappling cord until it's pulled back against the ship. It hooks its tail into one of the engine housings. What actually happens is its tail is dragged up into one of them on a bit of fishing wire, but you can't tell. It looks fine. And that very dramatically brings us to the end of 8 minutes.
Well.
We thought about including the next 4.5 minutes, which are 2 minutes of movie and 3 minutes of credits, but we get another episode, a presumably much shorter episode.
Yeah, that seems likely. There's not going to be too much to discuss in the next one, I think. But I think you got something.
Yeah, there's a couple of things we need to talk about as the movie ends. But yeah, that was good. I enjoyed that section immensely.
Yeah, it's a nice tense bit for the ending, I think. Yeah, I like it.
Now, do I ask you these 3 questions? Who's infected, Peter?
Well, can it still be said that the ship is infected? I think yes, until this situation is fully resolved.
Okay, I'm going to say still the shuttle.
Yeah.
All right. You've got to predict what happened. I want accuracy, right? You got 2 minutes of film left. What happens next? I want everything you can remember, every little juicy detail.
My feeling is that there's some sort of scramble because the alien is going to try and get back on the ship, and it's all going to hinge around that grapple gun, and that what she needs to do is release the grapple from the gun mechanism in some way, or cut it, or I'm not exactly sure what happens. Sorry,
right.
but the door needs to become fully closed, and the grapple mechanism needs to be disengaged so that the alien can fly off into space. I had an image of the alien coming back and still being attached to the side of the ship, but I feel like I might be getting confused with a scene from Aliens.
Perhaps indeed. Who can know?
But so I'm going to say no. The next thing to happen is going to be a kerfuffle around the grapple gun, that being released or cut loose somehow, and then the alien floating off into space with no way to get back on the ship, and that being the final resolution. And then what's going to happen is that Ripley is going to get into the pod with Jonesy, and they're going to have a lovely sleep.
All right, I have logged that on the scroll of ages, or in Notepad. Who dies next, Peter? Are you still sticking with it being the alien?
I'm going to go with the alien. Who knows whether the alien is capable of surviving in the depths of space? Maybe it is.
I mean, it still seems quite frisky at the moment.
Yeah, but it's only just gone into space. So, maybe it doesn't die. Maybe it just kind of goes into space hibernation forever. So we don't know for sure, but I'm going to say effectively, because it can't do anything out in space, the alien dies next.
It would be a good Alien sequel. You're just a ship minding its own business, and then there's like a clonk on the windscreen, and you're like, "What the hell is that?"
Encounters the same alien from the first film, and it comes out of hibernation. That's a pretty good one. We should pitch that.
Don't speak too loudly. Ridley Scott will hear you.
Yeah.
Another question, which may have little relevance now, Peter. You're 120 seconds from the end of the movie. Are you still enjoying it?
I am still enjoying it, and you know what? I like this little tense bit of ending a little bit more than I have enjoyed the last however long hour or so of action. I like this ending.
It is a fine ending to a film, and I think he is quite right in saying that this whole fourth act thing revolutionized at least horror movies at this point, because none of them did it before and all of them did it after. So an Alien was just the first.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what? Sorry, this might not make it in, but I've just thought of another way to use the alien is actually in hibernation thing. What if the alien gets picked up by other aliens?
Shit.
Like the whole film is like, you would not believe the day I have just had.
I thought you meant like a different alien race, not other aliens from Aliens. Who's like,
yeah.
Oh, fucking hell, guys. Like, all I did was just, like, and there were just all these weird fucking mammals everywhere. Gross.
Yeah. So I was trying to get rid of them.
Then I made plans with this cat.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I've been floating in around in space for the last 2,000 years. It sucks.
Do you remember earlier when Ash died and we talked about in some of the draft of the script, he sort of strongly implies he's made contact with the alien and had a chat with it.
Yes.
Oh, Christ alive. Well, there's a weird place to take it. And they do go in some directions like these in the comics. So the Alien series had hundreds of comics made for it by a company called Dark Horse Productions. And like one of the funnier ones is one where it starts with this person talking about predators versus prey over like shots of facehugger eggs. And at the end you basically see a giant alien hand scooping up the facehugger egg, squeezing the facehugger out and frying it in a really big frying pan.
Wow.
You're like, yeah, they're terrifying to us, but maybe there are bigger fish out there. Oh, and with that, I guess it's time to bring this podcast to a conclusion.
So let's wrap up with the usual wrapping up things.
Yeah. Listeners, if you have any questions or comments, or if you can sum up the plot of all of the Halo games in 50 words or less, email us at podcast@8minutemovies.co.uk.
And if they'd like to contact you directly, how can they do that?
They can hunt me for sport on Twitter, where I am known as Kieran J. Walsh.
And if you want to talk at me, you can go to Kestrel Pie on Twitter and other things. That's Kestrel like the bird and Pi like the irrational number.
I took some garbage to a local recycling point this morning, and
we're digressing at this late stage, are we?
And on the way, it's not digression. It's a topical interlude.
Okay, please.
and on the way, sitting on a road sign, I thought I saw a kestrel. But it was a crow.
Well, I'm glad you said that.
And I thought if it was a kestrel, I was like, I could have taken a picture for you because that's your name. But it wasn't. It was just a large, different bird.
Yep.
I was like, probably quite unlikely to see an endangered bird in East London.
What this boils down to is that you saw a bird in London.
I saw a bird this morning.
Yeah. Thanks for that.
Don't.
That's how we're ending this, are we?
Oh, goodbye.